It's now time to call this meeting to order for the Chelmsford Conservation Commission. Our chair is not with us tonight. He was not able to join. We also have one other member missing, but we do have a quorum, so we will proceed with the meeting. This meeting is being recorded by Chelmsford Telemedia. Our first item on the agenda is the open session for any citizen concerns. If there is something not on tonight's agenda that you would like to share with the commission, please raise your hand, state your name and address, come forward, and we will listen to your comments and questions. Okay, I don't see anything going on. So the first item on our agenda in the regulatory category is for the notice of intent that is continued from December 21st for 30 Russell Road. This is Mr. Lee, and we have a representative.
Yes. Good evening, members of the commission. Just for the record, my name is Philip Iliopoulos. I'm an attorney here in Chelmsford. Office is at 9 North Road, and I want to wish you a happy new year. Hopefully it's a healthier new year for everybody. Want to thank the board, commission for having us back tonight. We heard a lot of comments at the last meeting. And what I'd like to do is invite our project engineer to come up, walk you through the changes to the plan. I think the meeting he had with our conservation agent regarding the test pits, and we can kind of go from there. So we get right into it, okay?
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Hushman Dafshar from Taj Engineering. Based on the comments and advices received from last Conservation Commission, we submitted our drainage calculations to the town engineer, who has reviewed and approved our drainage calculations for the 100-year storm. We also did a test pit, which was witnessed by the town engineer on at the lowest point right here, where these leaching beds are, and the result of the test pit. Excuse me. Sure. The result of the test pit are shown on sheet 2. Soil data at 42-inch was the change of profile. At 68-inch was the observed signs of seasonal high water table, and at almost 120 inches the water was observed. So based on that, we relocated the leaching chambers number 3, a little bit up gradient, and the bottom of these chamber, which per the town engineer's comments put it in tandem, is it's actually 2.7 feet, the bottom of these chambers above the seasonal high groundwater table. We also installed another leaching chamber here, where there was a concern that the surface runoff may flow by the existing building across the boundary. So we started right here by installing this chamber here. And also, so now we have 3 leaching chambers, and for all of which the calculation was submitted. And this chamber also is going to receive half of the roof drain from the proposed buildings, and this leaching chamber number 2 is going to receive the other half of the roof drains to the leaching chamber number 2. And all these were shown, of course, in the calculations. We also added a detail for the cast-in-place concrete retaining walls, which is it goes from 0 to 3 feet at the highest stem at the highest point. And also there is a sort of makeshift catch basin here, which is like a floor drain. There's a 4-inch PVC pipe coming out of it and going towards the lake. So we are going to protect that by putting the erosion control barriers all around it, which was one of the comments of the town engineer. So other than that, I think as we have been communicating with the town engineer and we CC'd on all the communication, the conservation agent, all the comments of the past meeting and the town engineers have been addressed. With that, I guess I can open the floor to any
That's your,
further discussion.
nothing more to present?
Not at this point.
Okay. So, questions, Mr. Tamola, Chris?
Sure. What did you say the overall limits of land disturbance are for the whole property? Do you fall under the, do you have to file a SWIP for this project at all?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
You don't think so?
We had a conversation about that also with
Okay,
the,
is that, are we certain with that?
Or do we know what's the size of the lot? The area of the lot?
Just about half an acre.
it's about half an acre.
Okay, all right. So you wouldn't, you wouldn't have to.
Doesn't need a SWIP.
So, and then Christina had reviewed the test pit, she's reviewed the drainage, she's satisfied?
Yes, sir. Yes, she was present. She witnessed actually the,
Chris, she submitted an 8-point memo to Dave Kuntz,
Yeah, I think
and just to, let me just read what our town engineer said, because what we
Thank you,
heard a
Dave.
few minutes ago was from the applicant. It's consistent, but I think we should, she said that the office, this is our engineering office, the office agrees the proposed dry well infiltration chambers will hold the 100-year storm. 2, the soil test pit revealed that the estimated seasonal high groundwater elevation is 63 inches below the surface, and there was standing water at 87 inches below the surface. The test pit was located near the proposed driveway along Cart Path Road. After initial review of the plan, this office requested revisions to the plan, which included moving the infiltration chambers. Their revisions have been made, and I think you highlighted where the one on the driveway was, and you, I think, mentioned that there was a third one added, correct?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
And she's suggesting that if we're still uncomfortable with the separation of the water table from the infiltration chambers, that we can make sure that there's at least 2 feet above the water table during construction. So that's our choice. The leaching chamber details should be revised to show them as arranged in tandem. I think you've done that.
yes, sir. Sure.
The office recommends a silt sack be placed in the catch basin on Russell Road.
Yes, sir.
The office recommends a construction entrance exit be used to keep silt out of the street, and regular street sweeping is also recommended during construction, which we will have to observe if we approve this project. Yep,
We have so many details right here.
okay. And then,
The stone airplane right here.
and then the last point was some changes to the sewer service are required. This should not affect anything for the Conservation Commission. I take it you will have some outstanding items with other members of the building department, is that correct?
Correct. With actually the sewer department, which is under the town engineer, right?
I just wanted to make sure
Yep.
that we had all heard those.
Thank you. Dave, let's make sure Chris is.
I'm good.
All set. You all set, Chris?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Dave.
At the last meeting, my concern was that the runoff from behind the house during construction was going to be addressed, and you have addressed it with the third infiltration chamber, I believe. Is it possible for you to construct those chambers prior to general construction on the site?
Yes,
So that those chambers are available to collect water while you're doing construction?
yes. As a matter of fact, we have to, because they are the
Okay,
first that
okay.
go elevation-wise, vertical-wise. That's the first set of vertical construction needs to be done.
Very good.
And I think that's actually in the construction sequence.
Yes, it's construction, and also,
On the
if
plan.
I may add, we did add here that there must be ample supply of erosion control, stockpile of erosion control material at the site, which can be inspected constantly, like jute, trap, cables, and such materials to cover any loose material, or in case of any rain, to just trap them down.
Do you have any erosion control measures at the edge of your property as it approaches Freeman Lake? Or is it just as noted here? I can't really see that far.
It's right here,
And goes, okay.
all right above the wall, goes all around, and it ends at the building itself,
Okay.
at the
So
existing
from,
building,
from that outer line,
all around.
right, but from the Freeman Lake side, once that's in place, will there be any activity between that and Freeman Lake?
Not
At
at
all.
all.
Well, there's the removal of that bituminous apron.
We decided, I guess, last time we leave it alone, it's going to
Oh,
cause
oh,
more
oh.
disturbance.
Oh, I
I
didn't-
looked at the tapes again and again, and then
Oh, okay.
my understanding was,
I didn't catch
The
that.
reason for my question is, the positioning of the silt fences are fine for the work that's being done around the house, but some material may end up on the other side of that silt sack, and I don't want that eroding into Freeman Lake either. So I'm just wondering if you couldn't move that barrier closer to Freeman Lake than where you have it now, that's all. Or is that self-defeating for what you want to do on the site?
I think it's going to be causing a little traffic problem, but instead of that, we are proposing regular sweeping of the street.
Right.
The regular, probably.
Okay, I just, because you're gonna have a lot of material in and out and all, and I just want to make sure that the stuff on the other side of the fence, the silt fence, isn't leaching into Freeman Lake.
We have
Um,
said it's contractor responsibility to sweep the frontage, the street in front, every day in case.
I've provided the commissioners that are here with a map with topography for that general site. I just draw your attention to a lot of discussion has been, primarily from me and others, has been about the drop-off in topography on the site from about 150 feet down to 120 feet, roughly. So there's a 30-foot drop, and that is being addressed by the third chamber, which is good. But I want everyone to understand that the elevation of that hill is not just behind 30 Russell Road. The elevation of that hill goes to the house that's, I guess I can say it's behind the applicant's house, but its address, I think, is Cart Path. I don't think it's Russell. And it goes all the way up Cart Path. So there's gonna be a lot of runoff from that hill, independent of the work at this house. And I think there's been some discussion that this house is gonna aggravate that runoff problem that some people have been discussing for the low point behind the Davenports and how do they pronounce their name, the Malowitzes? I think if there is, there's general runoff from that hill in its entirety, not just from 39, or from, not just from 30 Russell. Those are the questions I have.
Thank you, Dave. Bill?
Yeah, I was the one that brought up about the apron out front in the, within the 30-foot, and I took a look at it, and I agree with you. Leaving it's better than taking it out. You'll make more of a mess taking it out and disturb everything, so I don't have an issue with that anymore. And, yeah, I'm glad you have all the extra hay bales and stuff on site. Because my biggest concern is behind the house, that if it rains, you have, the weather changes, and you have some rainy weather, and you're doing the work on that retaining wall out back there, you could have a lot of washout that could go
That's
down.
correct.
So anything you can do to mitigate that. And also, I think if our agent could be notified when you're gonna start work on that type of thing, or when you're gonna do the pits for the drainage, that he could be notified so he could go out and just inspect those.
Of course.
I mean, I think that would, it's a very steep hill there. And I hate to see anything get washed out. We had, on Route 4 quite a few years ago, we had a washout on a hill over there that was, it was bigger than this, but it's similar circumstances. It rained, they were doing work on the houses up on the hill, and it washed out Route 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm happy with this plan. I don't have any issues at this point.
John?
The issue I had was the retaining wall behind the house. You say you're gonna use like a block, maybe, or is that gonna be poured concrete?
Poured concrete.
It is gonna be poured
Yes, and
concrete?
there's a detail on the plan that we have.
Okay, well, it says that or Versa block. Okay, but it's gonna be
No,
poured.
it's going to be poured because, again, if you want to go with verse block or any other precast block, then we have to provide the geotech mat behind to support,
Yeah.
and it's got more disturbance. So we just decided a strength before beauty. Let's go with less disturbance before beauty. So we decided to go with casting place. That's why we added the detail. for the
Okay,
retaining wall. Yeah.
yep,
Reinforced casting place, that's right.
yep, reinforced
Correct,
casting place.
yes.
Yeah, because that is quite a hill.
Yes. No, it's a reinforced, it's actually quite a bit of reinforced as shown in the detail.
Right, yeah.
I have a little surcharge because of the vehicle on the driveway and the slope, all those things taken into account. It's going to be a reinforced casting place concrete, even though the stem, the exposed stem of the wall is not more than 3 feet, but still we decided to go with,
It's gonna be in the ground
exactly,
for 3-4 feet.
4 feet
4
the
feet,
frost
yeah.
wall and then 3 feet
Okay,
exposed. Yes, sir.
all right, that was my concern,
Sure,
the strength of the wall.
of course.
Okay,
It's going to be a good wall. It's going to be the footing itself is 30 inches. Just the width
Yeah,
of the footing,
yeah.
usually 24 inch, as you
Right.
know, for a basement for a house, but this one 30 inch, and then the stem comes up reinforced.
okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
David, do you have, Mr. Agent, do you have anything you want?
I do have
Questions?
some comments, but before that, Mr. Chairman, I believe there are a couple of emails that the senders wanted read into the record.
Yep.
So, I mean,
Yep.
I don't know if you want to do those now or.
Yeah, I can do that now if you want. Okay, so we have 2 emails that were sent to us to be read into the record. One is a bit long. I will not read the whole email, but I hope, do a good job at summarizing it. I do have a question. It's from a woman named Sarah Madden, and I believe she is not in town at the moment, that she is in Ireland, and I believe her family is in that neighborhood, so I don't have an address for her.
It's 16 Russell.
16 Russell, okay, all right, thank you. 16 Russell from Sarah Madden. She is writing about the development at 30 Russell Road. She's saying that the impact is being felt about this proposed project. The swamp is flooding due to runoff from the retaining wall. There are fewer bats due to the trees that have been removed. There are fewer predator birds due to the lack of tree perches and fewer small prey species that live in the underbrush that was once on Mr. Lee's property. And these are only the first steps. The hill will be turned into a muddy mess with no vegetation before, during, and after construction. Perhaps a landscaper will come in and add some nice flower beds and a green grassy monoculture lawn. And all of these will immediately flow down the hill and into the swamp or into the lake during the first summer downpour. The more vegetation that is removed, the sooner there will be a mudslide. As for the mudslides and the water flow, where will that excess water go? It will damage It will cause damage to the roads, to homes, and then go into the existing waterways. Mr. Lee proposes leaching chambers to solve this problem. Have you ever tried to dig a hole at the lake? It fills with water. A 5-foot depth leaching chamber will not give more than 1 foot of water storage after being opened for a day. Following are a number of paragraphs about broader comments about wetlands in the state. I think some of this was pretty interesting. I did read the whole thing myself. There's a very interesting UMass CAPS research program that looks at general amounts of green and wet space in the state. So she goes into a lot of background on that. It's actually quite interesting. But let's go back to focusing on this property and this house. Mr. Lee's engineer has continually stated that the land is already developed and disturbed, and so it shouldn't matter if Mr. Lee wants to build another house. The original houses were built before the Wetlands Protection Acts were put into place. These houses are probably a reason that the Wetland Protection Acts were put into place. Two wrongs don't make a right, and neither will allowing more of the already slim resources we still have in town to be further destroyed. Conservation. Water flow has already been affected by the retaining wall. I said that earlier. Trees have been ripped out. There has already been bird and bat displacement. Kind of repeating some of the other stuff. Thank you for taking the time to read this letter and for taking the time to seriously consider the consequences this development will have on the wetlands in the area. Have you read it, David?
Yes.
Do you think I captured it
Yes.
pretty well?
Yeah.
The relevant
Yes,
specific
yes.
parts?
And
Okay.
I think, by and large, those issues have been addressed that were raised, specific to this project.
Okay. So that's one. That is from Sarah Madden. And now we have an email from Anna Marie Barassa. She lives at 26 Russell Road with her husband. She's been there 12 years and met Mr. Lee when he bought the property 2 years ago. I understand some of the residents and neighbors have voiced concern. She won't be able to be here tonight, that's why I'm reading the letter. Mr. Lee has been carefully providing attention to the property and giving it repairs. He's been kind and considerate as a neighbor. I'm not going to read all of this again. One of the concerns voiced was about water issues, namely runoff and potential for flooding. I was informed by Mr. Lee that this issue was addressed by his contractor, and I have no reason to believe otherwise. One of the properties on the street was reconstructed, and there did not appear to be any of those issues at that time. Another issue raised involved increased traffic, cars, etc. with this construction. Since the tenants will be the same, I believe she means the tenants in the house will be the same tenants that are there now, I do not see this as an issue. As for the construction, Mr. Lee has promised to not block roadways and believes that this would be a brief period. Many of us have had to have work done at our properties, and all of the neighbors have been very understanding, in my opinion. A third issue has been raised about preserving wildlife, namely bats and hawks that have been in this area. I know that several trees have been cut on Mr. Lee's property, all but one being greater than 100 feet from the water. Unfortunately, the one tree that was cut in front of the house was witnessed to be hollow and rotten in the center, posing risks to the property at 30 Russell Road, as well as my property, Mrs. Barassa's property. Several neighbors have had the same misfortune. Thankfully, I have not witnessed a decline in the wildlife. I appreciate and respect the ability for all of the neighbors on the street to verbalize their opinion. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to verbalize my support for Mr. Lee's addition to his current home, Anna Marie Barassa. So those are two, obviously not in agreement, letters, but they both will be part of the record of this hearing.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I do have some comments. In particular, recommend 3 special conditions be included in the order, and they've really basically all been touched upon, but I think it's just a matter of sort of building on them. So the first condition I would recommend is that actually Christina be the one, and she's already offered to do this, that that the applicant's contractor coordinate with Christina to actually witness the installation of at least the lowermost leaching chambers, which would be leaching chamber 3, just to make sure that it is at the suitable height above groundwater. And again, she has offered to do that, so I think definitely should take her up on that offer. The second condition is that I think there really does need to be a more detailed site stabilization plan for when the work goes on in back of the house, in particular where there's going to be a third leaching chamber in there. I think that's going to be could be potentially a little bit tricky to be doing the excavation for that at the same time that slope is being regraded back there. I think, in discussing this with Christina, that I think there's going to be a net cut on the property in the sense that there's going to be net removal of earth from the property. So, how is the excavation and backfilling for the third leaching chamber back there? How is that going to fit in with the regrading of the slope and keeping it stabilized? So I do think that prior to that work, there does need to be a detailed site stabilization plan that's submitted. I mean, we don't have to keep the hearing open for that, but that can be submitted to me for review, and there will be a standard condition in there that there'll be a site meeting with me and the contractor, and I can discuss that with him. I believe the contractor's already been selected. He's already been hired. Okay, so if he could be put directly in touch with me, that would be great. And that's another standard condition. The third condition is, again, I think we need a more detailed construction sequence for the retaining walls. Is it going to be the same contractor that does those, or okay? So do need a more detailed construction sequence on those retaining walls. So those are the 3 special conditions that I recommend.
Mr. Chairman? Carl?
Yeah.
Are you going to do any remedial work on the existing retaining wall, or are you not touching that?
That is not right proposed in the plan, because it's fine, it's behaving okay.
It's not falling apart?
No, it's pretty much there. Now, if we see something, of course, we will address it and we'll bring it to your attention.
Can you leave the erosion control measures in place until the landscaping takes hold?
Yes, it's already actually on the plan.
But you can leave them in place for like a year or so?
Yeah,
So that the lawn and the shrubs or whatever your client's gonna put in place actually get, because if you don't, then the new grass could wash away, perhaps.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. The only place that we will have to monitor back and forth is the opening here, because
Yeah.
the entrance to the site is even being closed. So this needs to be closed and opened as it's required. But the rest can be placed because it is out of touch, it's out of way, and it could be left till the grass is grown back.
Thank you.
And that's a pretty standard condition, too.
Yes.
Is that the erosion control be left in that long, and then when it actually is removed, that.
Yeah, I'm addressing the comment that one of the letters mentioned.
Correct.
David, do you have anything else?
I don't have anything else to say.
So, there's been a lot of discussion about the general wetness in that area. Do we want to have any kind of discussion about that? And I'm talking more general area.
Yeah, no, I don't think that would be appropriate for
Okay.
this hearing. A resident in the area has requested time on the agenda for the next meeting to raise that as a
Perfect.
concern, so that'll be under citizens' concerns. And I do think that is, but I will say that, yeah, I think, that area is getting wetter.
Yep.
And I think that is a legitimate concern, and so I think the
I went up
commission
there
should
again
talk about
today,
that.
and, I see the concern.
Okay, good.
But so what I'm hearing here is we're going to vote on this. We're going to have to ask for more comments from the audience in a minute. But we're not seeing, I'm not hearing us see anything that would hold us back at the moment.
I would agree with that.
Okay. So I think at this point, we'd open it up for any more comments from the audience, any questions, and if anybody wants to come forward. Yep. Please state your name and your address.
Marcia Davenport, 62 Groton Road. I can't see why adding more, something to take away from some of this water in the neighborhood is a bad thing. I mean, my ground is flooded. My property's ruined from all this water and these unexplained, everything that's happening in the area. So I think if we have something that's going to collect some of the water that's ending up on my property all the time, I think that could help the neighborhood. And the bat decline and all that isn't from his one
Excuse me,
tree.
ma'am, you gave us your name. Did you give us your address?
62 Groton Road.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yep, come on up.
I'm Barbara Madden at 16 Russell Road, and I would just really ask of all of you for somebody to please watch this project as it progresses. It is going to impact a lot of us, so please, please keep an eye on this project. I hope we've at least brought that to your attention, part of that to your attention. It's nothing against anyone personally. This would be happening if anybody was trying to build on this property. So please,
Yep.
keep an eye on this project.
We hear you.
Carl?
Thank you.
Ma'am, have you had any discussions with your neighbors about asking or working with the town to get Russell Road and Cart Path accepted streets,
Or at least Russell Road.
or at least Russell Road?
I'm not sure about carpet.
You ought to engage in that discussion, because an accepted road in Chelmsford means more than what you have in terms of how the road's constructed, what the drainage is on the road. I mean, you don't have catch basins on that road. Accepted streets do.
I mean,
So you
honestly,
should speak with someone at town hall. I mean, we can't do it for you.
right.
But I don't know if you follow town meeting, but at least once a year or every other year, there's a request to accept certain streets in town. And that's just to bring them up to the code, the construction code for streets.
I mean, ever
Your
since
streets aren't.
ever since I was a kid, the bad part of that is now you're gonna, if it's a nice, smooth road, people already fly down that. It's people that don't know where they are and they're
going?
lost, and, we don't want them I like the potholes, it makes them slow down. If they don't, they lose a muffler.
Well, you can always put in speed bumps, but I understand your
Well, no, you
point.
can't do that either. But that, so,
Yeah.
I've not looked into having it,
But I think Dave makes a good point, and it's the
Yeah.
kind of thing that you need to understand what you're trading off. And if you've got a lot of wet issues and road issues, that might be one way of solving those problems. It may cause some other traffic issues, but
Yeah.
I can't think it's a high-traffic road, but I'm sure it'd
no,
be
but it's
more than I
somebody
would
who
expect.
doesn't know where they are, and they
Yep.
just want to spin down, flip around when they find out they're stuck. And, there's dogs, there's kids, there's,
Yep.
it's tight in there, it's tight.
I was there this afternoon, and I was like,
thank you.
where do I turn?
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you, everyone, for having that. So, let's see.
We can close the hearing?
Yeah, I make
I
a
move we
motion.
close the hearing on
close the
30
hearing.
Russell.
So moved by Dave. Do I have a
Second.
second? Second by Bill.
Okay, we've,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and now do we have a motion to,
well, let's first take a look at what, if this order of conditions is approved, we'll include our standard conditions, and we have some special conditions.
right,
Our agent read off 3 special conditions. One is that the town engineer witness the installation of the leaching chambers, particularly number 3. I don't think we need to say particularly, but maybe she can look at all 3 of them. The second one is that there be presented to us a more detailed site stabilization plan, which gets to one of the comments I made: can the erosion control stay in place until the landscaping takes hold? The third one is that we request a more detailed construction sequence or construction of the wall, of the new retaining wall.
Yes.
And I think I heard I would have wanted one that the chambers be installed first, but I believe the engineer said that that's on the detailed construction plan, that the leaching chambers will be installed before site construction. Because if it's not, I want it as a special condition. I guess it is.
And actually, those are going to, I know the hearing's closed, but I think those are going to require cranes, or a crane to install?
But the chambers, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say a mini size or a medium size, brother. Not a-
How heavy are they?
Usually, a chamber of this size, probably about, I want to say 2 tons.
John, he's gonna need a crane, right?
A backhoe-
Yeah, well, depends on what size backhoe they have, you know. I mean,
Okay.
Okay, so I
So we have
move, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. So we have those 3 conditions, and I know, Vivian, you got those correct. Yep, okay.
Okay, I move we issue an order of conditions for 30 Russell Road, including our standard conditions and the 3 special conditions that I cited.
So moved from Dave. Do I have a second?
Second.
Chris second. Any further discussion?
Just, I want to clarify the oversight, in addition to the drainage pits, you also going to have a site visit with the contractor prior to any work being
Yep.
done?
Yep.
And then will you be able to drive by, take a look during the process? or-
Sure, and in fact, what I could do, first of all, then after the initial site visit, there'll be at least one more site visit where I go out and inspect the installation of the erosion control. But another condition that could be put in is, some sort of regular status reports, like weekly status reports from the contractor. This is what was done this week. This is the progress toward completion of the project. This is the condition of the site. I think that would be a good condition.
And what's planned for the next week, maybe?
Yep.
And
So-
I agree. I live up the street, so I'll be taking a ride by to take a look, not to impede the process, but
Right.
just,
Just so that there are no surprises.
right. We don't want any problem with any
So
of the
let's-
neighbors. or-
Let's make that a 4th condition. And I'm seeing a nod over there, so I don't see that as an issue, or,
If I may, actually, that is for the record, that's going to help us, actually,
okay.
in case of any adverse claim or anything, and we actually certainly welcome that.
Okay,
I mean,
thank you.
it's analogous to what the SWIP reports. I mean, this site is too small for a SWIP, but I think there are good reasons to have analogous, especially like if there's a heavy rainfall, definitely need some kind of a report,
That's
the
quite-
day after that.
That's quite fine. They do it on any government project, and it works fine. And for the record, actually, for the applicant's protection, actually, we definitely welcome that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. So I hear 4 conditions. That'd be the 4th one. Vivian, you get that one okay? All right, so that's the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? So the motion passes. Paperwork will be processed.
Yeah, I don't have the signature page tonight. I'll have that for the next meeting, but I can have the order conditions, substantially complete by then.
So thank you very much for your presentation. I want to thank everybody who's been here to listen and provide input. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Let's see. Next on our agenda is continual business. We have 2 bullets from David, if you want to give us an update on both Oddfellows. Let's start with the Oddfellows update.
Sure. I think the commission is pretty well already updated on that one. I think the bottom line is that the work sequence wasn't exactly followed. that's why I asked the contractor to do it, and so.
I'm glad you said that after they left.
I mean, in those kind of situations, you do the best you can, that you ask the contractor to do the work sequence, then it's a matter of, well, the actual employees of the contractor who are doing the work. But I think the bottom line is I'm very, very confident that nothing got into the
Started
water.
up work, Dave?
What's that?
They've restarted work there? I haven't been by
No,
there.
no,
They have
no,
not yet.
no. My understanding is just the next phase is then start the actual renovation of the outside of the building. And I've asked them to provide the exact same thing. They did, a detailed work sequence for, the renovation of the exterior of the building.
So David, that brings up a question in my mind, is that kind of a situation where you have a meeting with the contractor, everything, and they're convincing you this is what they're going to do, but it doesn't get to the guys who actually do the work. How do we help make sure that happens?
Well, just request it. Request the meeting, have an on-site meeting with the contractor or the employees of the contractor who are actually going to be doing the work.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe this is a little bit of a lesson.
Yep.
But again, I think the bottom line is I'm very confident nothing got into the water. So
Okay.
just next time, do be a little bit more diligent on it.
Thank you. Anything else on Oddfellows?
No.
No, okay. And how about on the 14 Levitt Lane tree removal?
Okay, so I wrote, on Monday of last week, I sent a letter to the property owner asking her for, expressing the concern about the work that was done out there, asking her to give me a call, which she did. She called me, I think yesterday, and I asked her permission to visit the property today, which she granted me permission. So I did go up, visit. So there definitely was work in the commission's jurisdiction. I saw tree removal, basically land clearing and regrading, like a new lawn, or the lawn would be extended. I measured the closest point of approach to the wetlands is 55 feet, so definitely in the commission's jurisdiction. So what I told her needed to be done is that, an after-the-fact filing of an RDA needed to be done, which included a work description, but also a revegetation plan. She actually said that she did not want to she didn't want to plant grass. She had ideas for some other planting, some revegetation. I don't think that's a huge issue. We just need some kind of a revegetation plan. I further suggested to her that that her contractor, rather than having to do all of this work herself because she is disabled, that if her contractor could help out, the contractor that did the work. So I suggested that she have him give me a call, which he did do. He called me. The phone was ringing when I got back to the office. But it was interesting. What he said was,
Who was it? Do you know?
That was Marty.
It was Marty Landscaping?
Marty. It was Marty from Marty's Landscaping. Although his subcontractor, a gentleman named Paul from Tommy's Tree Service, who was the one who actually cut the trees, was there. So what Paul said was that a member of the Conservation Commission who drives a 2-seat Porsche actually had given permission for the work.
Really?
At the beginning.
It's kind of hard because I was there after all the work was done.
Well, I really tried.
Well, he's the same gentleman who asked me who the black woman was on the Conservation Commission.
Really?
At the same time, I apparently told him he could cut the trees down.
Well, I tried very hard to ascertain, was when you were given permission, was that right at the beginning of the work? He insisted, it was at the beginning of the work. Well, was there a common understanding with this commission member as to where the work would actually take place? And And, I can see maybe there wasn't a common understanding of exactly what the work was. Was it just a tree clearing or tree cutting? And, was there any subsequent or additional work like the grading? Was that
You guys are
included?
wonderful, aren't they?
So, this gentleman, Paul, from Tommy's Tree Service, said he would be here tonight. Well, clearly, he's not.
You're not Paul.
You're-
All right, you-
You're not Tommy either.
So,
Well, Marty.
Or Marty.
so I mean that did kind of.
Rest
you know-
assured, commission members, I did go out to the site. I did talk to Paul, but it was after in fact, he was wrapping up to leave the site.
You must have been there the same time I was, because I was there, and I talked to the guy who was driving the Tommy's tree truck, and they were done. I mean,
Yeah. Anyhow,
Okay, so that
of
so
course, I don't
that,
have it.
I don't either anymore, but
so they didn't feel that since they felt strongly that the commission or a member of the commission had approved the work that a filing should not be required. So
where do we stand?
Well, that's a good question. I think that a filing should be done after the fact. On the other hand, I can see, well, if they feel the commission had already approved
Dave,
it,
do you-
why they would
No,
not.
the commission did not approve it.
Okay.
Right. But from your site visit, do you believe that there's enough site stabilization there to prevent erosion in the springtime?
Well, there's certainly not there's not an imminent threat to the wetlands right now. I'm quite comfortable with that. But yeah, I think it would be good to put down some wattles, some 6-inch straw
Because I don't know
wattles
whether
or so.
at one time, we had heard that she was going to dig up all the tree stumps and put down grass seed.
Well, the tree stumps are gone.
They are gone.
I mean, the tree stumps are gone. It's been regraded, so it really.
So it does need some stabilization.
It does. I mean, there's been no seeding. It does need to be revegetated, if not with grass, then with something, and again, I think that would be appropriate, say, for Marty to do, prepare that plan. Again, I would hope that he would, assist her in this process. But I'm not sure he's going to at this point, given that he feels that they had approval already.
Two things. First of all, I think we ought to officially notify them that no one on the Conservation Commission gave them approval to do either tree cutting or stump removal. And the second one is, I think we should ask, if they're going to do any further work on the site, they come before us with a notice of intent.
Mm-hmm.
Is that-
Well, what about an after-the-fact filing of an RDA, with the understanding that it would be a negative
Sure.
determination?
It's your call.
Inclined to
It's your
do
call,
that,
Dave.
yeah.
So she says she's happy to do that.
So was
Again,
her
I just.
attitude fairly reasonable?
Her attitude was very reasonable. She really agreed to everything I asked. I just, again, given her health issues, I just don't like to see her have to do this,
Yep.
by herself. And I'm happy to give her a lot of assistance, but I think that,
Right.
a third party really needs to prepare, a revegetation.
I wouldn't recommend it be Paul.
Maybe not. I'll call Marty back and tell him that, according to commission members, that the work, when they first saw it, the work was largely completed.
Not that it makes any difference, but Marty's Landscaping is probably the biggest landscaper in Chelmsford.
Okay.
So he has a lot of clients, he does a lot of work. He's probably runs into these things fairly frequently, I don't know.
Well,
So I think we need to be sure that there is some mitigation for the spring. It's
yeah.
coming. Maybe sooner than later, I don't know. But they need to get in there and put some wattles, something.
Yep.
That has to happen pronto.
agreed. So hopefully he'll be willing to do that. Well, we'll see.
I know we can get some hay bales.
Yeah.
No, he can't.
Uh,
Tough site.
It's offsite, yeah. Never mind.
No, I think even, I mean, it really is, for some reason, I had the impression that it was quite steeply sloped in back there. It really isn't that steeply
No,
sloped.
No,
it kind of slopes to
yeah.
The
a,
other side of the
Yeah.
street, it's coming down
yeah,
across the
it's
street.
coming down the hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But you're right, it kind of slopes into a swale. And then it goes into Westford.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say, though, the 55 feet, because my eyeballs, when I was there, said, that's less than 100 feet. You know, I was like,
yeah,
there's no
yeah,
way.
yeah. If you're used to trying to gauge distance, yeah, that's pretty obvious. You know, in this particular case, the DEP wetland layer on the Mass GIS just wasn't that accurate.
Yeah.
So, and of course, in my opinion, my job is to be conservative, so I was conservative, but I think there was little doubt where I decided the line was.
Yep, yep.
So, so I will call Marty back, and hopefully he can at least prepare the revegetation plan and put in, 6 or 9 inch wattles, back there.
He should have known that.
He does do good work.
I agree.
He does good work.
Yeah.
He does a lot of work, but he should have actually known better.
I'm sorry, yeah, that, I
So
totally agree.
he should help this lady, okay, in my opinion.
I agree. Again, I think his position is that, well, we were given permission to do it, so,
Sorry,
hopefully.
He knows better. He knows better. And it's
First of
it's
all,
not-
one commission member can't speak for the entire board anyway.
Right.
So
That's right.
Right.
ridiculous.
Oh, really?
Even the one on the board.
Even the one on the board.
Okay, all right. Anything else, David? Thank you.
Just the only other thing I was going to mention was Warren Poll. I know that Carl, you and Dave have seen, well, I think I sent the DEP's comments.
Yeah.
That's not a big deal. I mean, I think I've already come up with, I mean, I haven't replied yet or responded yet, but I think I've come up with pretty good response that I'll just get back to the.
That's on there, yeah, the DEP comments, yeah. It seemed to me they didn't read it that closely, or there might have been some misunderstandings.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were a number of issues that need to be taken into consideration that they're not aware of.
Okay. Okay. Yes, hi. Can you make it, yep.
Beth Logan, 36 Levitt Lane. It's kind of concerning to me that somebody would say, well, I got a verbal from a commissioner, and so I'm wondering if it's possible that a formal letter from the town go out to both companies that say, no, we don't operate that way, so that it's kind of on record, so they can never say, hey, well, I ran into, a guy in a pickup truck, and he said he was on the Conservation Commission, so I got approval. Because people like to get away with things, and if they can do it once, they'll try it again. So if we kind of had something formal to them that said, no, that's not the way it works, then they couldn't say anything. Could you say, hey, we told you in January of 2022 that this isn't how it works, so don't do that to us again?
I think that's a good idea. Maybe you can,
Yeah, I think in concept that is a good idea. And in this particular case, I don't want this particular property owner just to be left without any help.
Oh, no, I understand.
That's my
But-
concern in this case.
Yeah, and, well,
maybe we get a
We-
commitment first from him to do something and then send him a letter.
he's
that sounds
well-known
right.
in the neighborhood, and the neighborhood people spoke to him at the beginning of this.
Is him Marty or is him Paul?
Marty.
Okay.
Paul, I don't think anybody knew him before this. But Marty was well-known, and neighbors have talked to him, neighbors have used him, and they've talked to him. So there was some knowledge that there was concerns in the neighborhood at the beginning. So that's kind of why, just saying that it just kind of seems inappropriate. That'll be my politically polite way to say it. And so you are going to ask for something, because I know it's not as steep, but
Oh, yes, yes.
we get some nice
rains in the spring, so.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, no, I mean, the ground currently is pretty frozen, or at least the surface of
Today.
it. But yeah, that could change. Again, even if we got a reasonably heavy rain, I don't think anything would get into the wetlands, right away. But I definitely will call him tomorrow.
Okay,
and,
okay, thank
ask him to
you.
do
Thank you
that.
for your
Yeah.
input. Thank you.
No, I don't think I have anything else.
Okay. I didn't have anything else on land management other than I wanted to just mention that last Saturday morning, COS hosted a Cranberry Bog Walk. This was January 1st at 7:15 in the morning, and it was very well attended. There were over 20 people there. I was one of them with my dog, and Phil did a great job organizing that and making that happen, and people seemed happy and enjoyed. First day of the year walk at the Cranberry Bog, that was great. And Phil and I talked very briefly about some of the costs, interactions and stuff, and we're gonna connect one of these days. Wasn't the right place or time Saturday, but we had a good brief talk, and so we'll connect on some of the open issues that we have and some of the plans for this year. And we'll get connected on that soon. I don't think there was anything else, Dave. Did we have anything else? You and I talked a couple of, yesterday. I don't have anything else that was urgent, so.
No, but just tell you guys that the project on River Neck Road for the distribution center will be coming before Conservation Commission. Do you know when, Dave? You probably don't know when.
Well, I think I have a rough idea. I was told at the technical review meeting held here in Town Hall last month that they would be filing sometime in January for a February hearing. So the two meetings in February are February 1st and February 15th. So it might be getting a little bit tight at this point for a February 1st hearing. Although they were largely prepared. I have retained a peer review consultant for the wetland delineation, or that will be done shortly. Just have to have the town manager sign the contract.
Good.
So that should be, assuming the weather holds up, that should be ready at the time the hearing is opened.
Not for discussion tonight, but that conservation land that's off of River Neck Road is about 44 acres. It's bounded by River Neck Road and 495 and Route 3 and Carter Drive. And it's about 44 acres. And the place where the distribution center would be at I guess it's the eastern end of that 44-acre parcel.
It's where Mercury Systems is
It's
now.
where Mercury Systems was. I think they moved to Andover, North Andover somewhere.
Okay, Dave, thanks, and thank you, David. That's it on our agenda, other than approving the meeting minutes of December 7th. Do we know that this version is the one with Dave's?
I'm looking. I don't know that it is, Vivian. Do you have my comments in this one?
I have your comments on my computer.
But it's not in here.
I don't even know what you guys are looking at.
We got minutes of December 7th.
Right, because I sent those out and I have not,
If this is the ones you sent out, then you don't have my comments.
I have your comments.
You don't have them in a version for these guys to see yet.
Outside of what was sent electronically, no.
Okay.
I have
So
one, are we talking about the minutes?
Yep.
On page 5, Vivian, fourth paragraph down, the last sentence, Mr. Vines noted the planning board denied some proposed work in their previous hearing. I think that pertains to the proposed apartment condos that were going in the back.
No, it didn't specify. So I just went by what
Well,
you're saying.
what I can tell you what I was talking about, because what I
I
was,
just went by what was being said.
sure, well,
I don't see any of your paperwork, so
yeah,
I
that,
just go by what's being said.
yeah, that's fine, but the denied work was the building in the back is what I meant to.
We
Okay.
put a bracket in there that just clarifies
I just don't want to imply that that something was denied on the Oddfellows building itself. the denial pertained to Finnegan's project in the back.
Oh, then that's easy, it's easy to make that clarification.
Yeah,
So I would
That's fine.
propose that we don't approve these meeting minutes. We get the comments.
Yeah,
that
because I
Dave-
put,
Yeah, Dave's
we
comments.
put,
and if
I
you
put
could
quite
send
a
them
few
out
changes, I
again
don't usually do that, but,
and send them out, and then we'll approve them at the next meeting.
That's
Does that
fine.
make sense?
yeah.
And incorporate Bill's comment. And in the meantime, if anybody sees anything else.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's fine by
Thank
me,
you.
I have no problem with it.
Okay.
I have no problem with Dave's changes, they were fine.
Yeah, but
They were substantial enough that everyone else
Yeah,
should see
everyone
it.
else-
If that's
That's
not
all.
what you're looking at, then,
Yeah.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yep. We'll just recirculate them, if you can resend them.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll send the cleaned up copy, no big deal.
I'm open to a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're closed.
Good.
Good night.